If God is almighty and sovereign, how can He let evil happen in this world, especially to good people? People that are good people doing good things, and evil befalls them. I'm going to tell you right off the bat that the book does not give a nice, pat answer. Because there is not a nice, pat answer. But what this book does is it explores the thoughts and the emotions of a righteous man who endures tragedy. And it's an encouragement to all who suffer. Not to have a nice, quick answer of, oh, this is why there's evil in the world, and this is why God doesn't do anything about it. Someone who comes when you are suffering in the midst of some tragedy and gives you, oh, well, God's doing this because this, and this. Those are the three comforters of Job. And it's no comfort to the one who is suffering. You know what comfort to one who is suffering is? What they did for the first 7 days. They went and they sat with him. Didn't say a word, but just sat with him. I've sat with people who have, just within minutes of my arrival, lost a loved one, a husband, a child, a baby, that they still held in their arms. There are some things to be said about what the truth is there. But the biggest thing is being there and crying with someone and just standing with them. A pat answer is not what we need in the midst of suffering. We need to know that even the most righteous guy, one of the most righteous guys in the Bible, struggled with the fact that I'm righteous and yet this has befallen me. Why is that? And we can be encouraged in the fact that when you go through those times, you will struggle with the question of why. You will struggle with various questions. Stephen Curtis Chapman's family has gone through a tremendous tragedy, which I'm sure most, or not, if not all of you know of, a little over a year ago, when one son accidentally ran over one of their young daughters. And there's an album that he's put out just, I guess, within the last couple of months or so that is just powerful. And anyone who has struggled with these same things, you can hear it in that. And one of the songs, I didn't write down the words ahead of time, but one of the songs, the lyrics go something like, God, you're not who I thought you were. Krista endured tremendous tragedy in her life. The kind of tragedy that shakes you. And we were talking about that yesterday, and she said, I never lost faith. I never questioned whether God existed. But I came to a different understanding of who God is. And that, my friends, is what suffering does in us. It sharpens us to a true image of God. A truer image. Krista described it like this yesterday. She said, it's as if we have woven these rugs, these comfortable rugs that we stand on. And there's a foundation underneath who is God, but we have woven this comforter kind of, little throw rug that we stand on, and it looks nice. We like the way it looks. We like those colors. This is my foundation. And God pulls the rug out from under us. Not because He is destroying the foundation. It's still there. But He is pulling away the veil that we ourselves have woven before the image of God. Because we want to change the image of God into something that's more pleasant and more appealing to us. And what happens is it becomes a work and a vision of the flesh. We start to do what Ian Anderson said in Aqualung. He said that man created God in his own image. Ian Anderson was not a believer. Don't go buy his albums and start, following him. But that's a gripping statement made on that album. Man created God in his own image. And sometimes we do that. Sometimes we do that. So, now let's get to the Bible. Book of Job, chapter 1, verse 1. There was a man in the land of Uz, not Oz, Uz, whose name was Job, and that man was blameless and upright, and one who feared God and shunned evil. And 7 sons and 3 daughters were born to him. Also his possessions were 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 500 female donkeys, and a very large household, so that this man was the greatest of all the people of the east. And his sons would go and feast in their houses, each on his appointed day, and would send and invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. So it was, when the days of feasting had run their course, that Job would send and sanctify them, and he would rise early in the morning and offer burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, "It may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts." Thus Job did regularly. This gives us a little bit of insight into this guy, Job. He's identified as blameless and upright. Those words don't mean that he never sinned. No human being never sinned. It's double negatives. We all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, is the way the Bible describes it. Jesus is the only sinless man because he is the God-man. But the words mean, the first one, to be blameless, means complete or mature or full of integrity. Man, this was someone you go, yeah, this guy's a good dude. Man, this guy is mature. He's wise. This guy's got integrity. To be upright meant straight or right. This guy's going to do the right thing. This guy's going to think right. And even if he does the wrong thing, he's going to come back and try and do it and right it once he realizes it. That's the kind of man he is. He's rich in possessions and family. There's this big description of how many camels and donkeys he has. Well, in those days, that was basically a description of his bank account. Today, you would say, gosh, he had $1 million in the bank. He had all kinds of money in trust and a giant 401k and a big house. That's what it's saying here. And a huge family. 7 sons, 3 daughters. And they liked each other. They weren't fighting. They liked hanging out together. And they just basically went from one party to the next party at their different houses. Enjoyed one another. And Job is concerned about the spiritual condition of his family. Listen to this, men. Listen to this, fathers. He was so concerned that he was offering sacrifices. After their party was over, he would go and sanctify them, preach to them, tell them, hey, man, you got to be right. And come on, let's worship God together. And let me pray to God for you in case maybe in the midst of your revelry, you might have said something wrong. You might have had a bad thought. I want to sacrifice to God. This is one of the reasons we know this is pre-Mosaic covenant, because this was something that no one was to do except the priest after the Mosaic covenant. But during the days of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they all offered sacrifices, and they were acceptable unto God. It was the way it was in those days. And here he is. He is being a priest for his family. He's concerned about them. He's concerned about their spiritual condition. Verse 6, now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. And the Lord said to Satan, from where do you come? So Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro on the earth, and from walking back and forth on it. The New Testament says this is what Satan does. You know that? That's what Peter says, right? And Satan is like a lion going to and fro throughout the earth, seeing who he can chomp up. Well, here he is. He's walking to and fro, seeing who he can chomp up.